With the current state of the Australian property market at the moment and the fact that there's a lot of people around Australia, particularly, I guess you would say, within capital cities and the urban sprawl and things happening like that, your first home to buy or your first investment property to buy may be part of a strata scheme. It may be an apartment, it may be a townhouse, and I wanted to dedicate this episode just to helping people understand some of the risks, some of the traps, some of the benefits of having property ownership within a strata scheme. I am joined by John Pidgeon from the This Is Property podcast, and he wrote the book Sort Your Property Out and Build Your Future. John, what are the two titles, mainly speaking, in Australia? Because it's probably a good place to start understanding the ownership titles.
Yeah, so even in different states, they can name them a little bit differently, sort of common words on the ground locally, but generally it's Torrens title or strata title. So Torrens title meaning that you exclusively own that block of land, generally comes with a house on it, and you can sell that off on its own. Strata title is more combining a number of units within a complex, and where it requires a strata committee and a body corporate that sets up to basically run that strata title itself. You can sell off the unit within the complex, but you don't sell off the land, essentially.
So just some fun facts at the top here, John. The name Torrens, it comes from Sir Robert Richard Torrens,
Yes.
who was the driving force behind the Torrens title system, first introduced in South Australia in 1858. You're still a boy back then.
Good old SA.
He later went on, he served as Register General and then later a Premier in South Australia. And the word strata, do you know what this is, where it comes from?
No, I don't actually.
The term strata comes from the Latin word stratum, S-T-R-A-T-U-M, meaning layer, which is interesting.
Yeah, which sort of makes
because
sense.
it's kind of all about layered ownership. Now, there is a third one, community title, which we're not going to get into. It's pretty much gated community vibes. It's not just most people won't be buying in a community title, but you just need to make sure you're aware of the possible title situations when purchasing a property.
Yeah, and a lot of developers will set up a community title because it's cheaper as well. So, yeah, it's just understanding the differences when you're chatting to your conveyancer, probably the best way to go about things. I think I made mention of the different names that we commonly use in different states. I think WA is a common one where they refer to Torrens title as green title.
Right.
Meaning the same thing.
So basically, if you've got the Torrens or the freehold, it's yours. You are responsible for ensuring that property and, the buildings and whatnot. There is no such thing as common areas because it's all yours. And it can include, you might have a detached house on there or a semi-detached or something like that. John, there are villas that might have two that are joined, that they're both a Torrens title situation.
Yeah, so you might build, for example, we did a development locally on the coast where we bought a Torrens title block with an old house on it, knocked the house down, build two townhouses. They share a firewall, a common wall. They are both Torrens title blocks where you can sell off individual titles. So you can sell one and keep the other if you wanted to. So they're individual owners essentially within that own that block of land, but the community title or the portion of the driveway is shared.
Yes. Yeah. So and then just the basic definitions of strata. It is multiple owners they'll be issued with a strata plan number, and there's basically common area, so it could be driveways or barbecue areas or swimming pools that everyone gets use of, and there is a responsibility for all entitlement holders to contribute to the maintenance and the upkeep and the capital works of that.
Which is where some Barneys can be created.
Yes. So it's a shared cost system. Look, we will move on, but if you do have so for example, I've got a townhouse, for example, and there could be 3 on the block. It's a strata title. Whether I have a house or that strata title, I've got to mow the lawn. I've got to pay for the lawn mowing if I don't want to do it.
Yeah, all
So
stops with you.
Yeah, but it just means with the strata, the lawns still get mowed, but it will be paid for by, you'll pay 1/3 of the front lawn, for example. And so
Come from the strata levy.
that's right. Ella in the Facebook group asked, and this is the basis of this episode. Ella is a long-term friend of the podcast. She was in my first book, Sort Your Money Out and Get Invested. There's a profile on her investing. She lives in Brisbane. She said in the group, "Hi friends, I'm looking at buying a unit established in Brizzy. Anyone got any general words of wisdom, things they wish they knew about the property before buying, or any red flags to look out for? Thanks, fam." We're going to go deep on strata. We're going to go deep on things to look out for. Today you are joined by John Pidgeon and myself, Glen James. Let's do a podcast. You're listening to Money, 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 or as the regulars like to call us, M3. Everything discussed on the podcast is general advice only, which I'm licensed to give, and details can be found in the show notes. My name's Glen James, former financial advisor, now podcaster. I host this show and a show called Retire Right. I've also got a book called The Quick Start Guide to Investing, which you can check out wherever good books are sold, or there's a link in the show notes. Otherwise, thanks so much for listening today. Now on with the show. If you are new to the show, welcome. If you are new to life, welcome. If you want to start a business, if you run a business, you might want to have a listen to This Is Business, the business podcast that I do. It's pretty good.
Sure it is.
It is. Kayla Miles is one of the hosts, and we've got a new host, Adrian Smith, who's in AI, and he'll be talking a lot around AI in business and how to optimize. So the 3 of us will be doing joint episodes. The 3 of us will be doing solo episodes, and you'll see on the feed when that comes out, there might be a photo of me, photo of Kayla, photo of Adrian, whoever's the host, or if there's 3 of us. So check out This Is Business. And I actually forgot to give Sphere Home Loans a shout out before we bumped out of that first section. But Sphere Home Loans, they support the podcast. Make sure if you are Ella, make sure you see a mortgage broker and get an idea of what you're up for in terms of lending, in terms of buying into a strata plan. John, you'll probably let us know potentially about some lending risks that banks and lenders may put on, particularly unit blocks. So yeah, thank you to Sphere Home Loans for supporting the podcast. General words of wisdom. Where would you start with Ella?
Yeah, so I think for the novice out there tuning in, Ella says looking at buying a unit that's established. So what's the alternative? The alternative is buying something that's referred to as off the plan. So it hasn't been built yet. You're buying basically a portion of air, and hopefully the developers are going to build something in that air space that you'll then own up on the 5th floor or 10th floor or whatever it may be. Ella's referring to something that's existing, so it's already there. You can drive past it, touch it, feel it. I think the first part with this is I wouldn't say red flags, but I suppose I've personally got some non-negotiables when it comes to units. And if we step back from the unit component for a minute, we're saying, well, what's Ella's strategy? What does she want to achieve? How much has she got to spend? what does the yield requirement need to be? Because units essentially come with a better yield generally than houses because they have less land component of ownership, which we mentioned before. So they're commonly, the smaller the unit size internally, the better the yield will become or is straight off the bat. So you might buy a unit as an investment or a strategy to get a better cash flow in your life if your income's lower. Or you just might have a negatively geared property elsewhere that you want to buy a unit to offset some of those negative gains. Negative cash flow. But when we're looking at units, and the old story of houses outperform units is on the basis that land goes up in value. So if you've got more of that, generally it goes up in value and performs better than something that hasn't. But it's not always the case, because it is dependent on location. If I went and bought 3 acres in Alice Springs, for example, there's no guarantee based on historical performance that it's going to outperform a unit in the middle of Sydney, for example. So we've got to look at supply and demand. So the red flags, first of all, for Ella would be supply and demand. And when we look at real estate around the country right now, we see vacancy rates at an all-time low. So if we're looking at, and you can do this by logging on to sqmresearch.com.au, and you can see any postcode in the country to see what their vacancy rates are like. If you've got vacancies of 3% or more, for example, in Australia right now in a postcode, I would be deeply concerned, because for me, it's a very much an undersupplied market. If you look on and see that you've got percentages of 1% or 1.4 or something like that, and it's been trending that way for the last 20 years, give or take, then you see that the uptake on supply has generally been pretty good. So other things to consider when you're looking at units is how many in the complex. So we'll dig deeper into the strata in a moment, but the more we've got in the complex, the more variables we've got. More strata committee members, more personalities, more potential headaches, conflicts, more maybe for sale signs, more for rent signs. We can't guarantee who our neighbours are going to be next to us or under us or above us. Whereas when you've got a house, your neighbours are there, you can't control that either, but they're at least a little way away.
Are you, just so we get our terminology correct, for Ella, she's buying it in Brisbane to live in. And this is where it's the dance, right?
Yeah.
In a perfect world, we want to buy, how's that coffee? Is it all right?
Spot on, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very happy with it. Thank you.
I got an espresso machine in the studio, everyone, and I make people coffees now. Because it is that dance that Ella's in Brisbane. She wants a unit to buy and call hers, sick of renting, all that stuff. Now, at the end of the day, well, find out how much you can borrow and go buy one because you're going to live in it. But it's probably what you're saying. I'm just putting words in your mouth. It's always good to potentially throw some investment property wisdom across your lens, because it doesn't. Sometimes. Yeah.
And I think this is where we don't know personalities and what people want in their life, etc. So Ella might say, well, I want to buy a unit. It's just going to be me for the next 20 years. I'm never going to outgrow it. And I want low upkeep because I'm always travelling or appreciate my lifestyle and I don't have to mow lawns, etc. Knock yourself out. Go and do that and be walking distance to all amenities and public transport and everything and get on with your life. So you've got to look at your own situation, especially when it's owner-occupier. And the biggest question I get from wannabe investors is, okay, if I buy this now, am I going to outgrow it in 5 years' time? So that's not a red flag, but just something to take into account and say, Ella, if we're buying a one-bedroom unit now in a preferred suburb, am I going to outgrow that, i.e. partner, work from home, kids, those sort of things. So we want to make short-term decisions but look at the long-term. And when we're doing that, we can get a clearer lens on our strategy, I suppose. With reference to the size.
Yeah, she said she's after 2 beds, 2 bath ideally, but it's expensive.
Yes. So it's this dance between location and type. Now, if we had unlimited funds, we wouldn't even have to be having this conversation. You could go and have the pick of the bunch. But generally, more bathrooms, more bedrooms, more car spaces, more money.
Is more.
More money. So it's that dance between, okay, I can get a 2, 2 and 1, 2 bed, 2 bath, 1 car, but I'm in a inferior suburb versus going in a suburb to a better location and get a 2, 1 and 1. So for Ella that's going to live in it, which one's going to be better? Can I suck up the inferior location, or do I absolutely want to be in a better location but sacrifice a bathroom?
Generally speaking, any of the newer stuff, if they're 2-bedroom, it will be 2-2. It's rare that you would see a 2-bedroom apartment built these days that only has 1 bath. Yes or yes?
Depends.
Yeah.
If the developer wants to build 150 to squeeze in there as opposed to 85 boutique, then different conversation. Yeah, but generally the older apartments, there's a lot of 2, 1 and 1s.
Yeah.
And this brings me to the next point of age of unit. If you had a brand new 2, 2 and 1 next to a very old 2, 2 and 1, you're going to pay a lot more for the newer property because of its condition. Makes sense. You might not have the money to get that 2, 2 and 1, so I can only afford a 2, 2 and 1 that's 40 years, 50 years old. But invariably from an investment wealth creation hat, you've got some add value potential on that versus buying something that's brand new that I can't add value to.
So you can still add value to your apartment if you get an older one by, kitchen, carpet, all that
Cosmetic, yeah. So I'd say to Ella, look, if you've got a portion of wealth creation on your mind, generally I would look at trying to add some value in the purchase.
Okay, so what we might do now is just slip back into some Strata 101 and how the schemes work, and we'll keep this very high level. I've drawn an example, and you can just imagine this in your head. It's not, rocket science. Imagine that there was a strata unit or a complex, call it, townhouses or units, whatever, and there was 4 dwellings. So 4 apartments, 4 townhouses.
So let's confirm townhouses, units or apartments because they're all different. I don't want to...
Okay, well, let's get our terminology. So a townhouse would be a 2-story...
Generally 2-story.
Would generally have a car spot.
Yeah, and generally on their own title as such.
Oh, so not strata?
Not strata.
Oh, my townhouse at Blue Bay's strata, so...
Okay, so they've...
We'll assume all this is strata for the sake of this.
Okay, so let's go unit.
Okay.
Let's call them units just for ease.
Okay, so townhouse, from what you're saying, is the old terrace-type houses in the city, and they're in their own title?
Yeah, and they've got their own backyard and generally their title.
So place at Blue Bay is a unit in your terminology.
If it's part of a strata complex, then it is,
yes. Okay. Yep. So we'll do strata unit 4 or an apartment building of 4, whatever that is. So it's all strata, the whole block. There's 4 units. In the contract that you'll get from the agent and in the the strata kind of bylaws and all the documents that form the strata plan, because there'll be a master strata plan number for that lot, and then each individual unit will have a strata plan number as well. You'll see that they call it like a unit allotment or a unit allocation.
Yep.
And that's based on the usable square meterage that you own. So in this example, if the first 2 units had 25% allotment, they're the biggest 2. Then the next one down has a 30% allotment, which is a smaller unit. And then there might be a 1 better that has a 20% allotment. So everything with the strata and the system, if there is $1,000 maintenance bill that comes in, you pay per allotment. So the first two will pay $250 each, and then $30 and $20. So that's really important. It's not there's 4 units divided by 4 ways. There's unit allotments.
Based on your size.
Yeah, and that's how they work out all the levies and contributions for the Capital Works Fund and the Admin Fund. Just on that, when you are new to this world, there will be most places will not be self-managed. So we'll assume that they're not self-managed, that it's through a company that does strata management, and they're responsible for basically being the key contact with the committee and running the day-to-day admin stuff of the strata complex. That company, on behalf of the strata, because the strata plan will own this, they might set up 2 bank accounts, for example. One of those bank accounts might be the administration fund, and the other might be the Capital Works Fund. So and jump in, John, if I say anything wrong. Basically, what they do is at each AGM, or if it's a new complex, they'll basically work out, okay, over the next 12 months, we need to pay the lawns person, we need general maintenance costs, there's a security fee, there's common area lighting, so there'll be an electricity account owned by the strata committee or the main strata number. So there'll be expenses just, if it's a bit bigger, they may pay for someone to come in once a week and move all the bins out and do all the sweeping and all that. So what they say is year on year, we'll just go, we think it's $10,000 in the next 12 months just for day-to-day admin, including any insurances, because we've got to pay for the whole building to be insured. The fee of the strata manager, so we call that $10,000 over the next 12 months, just running the show. Or we'll call it 5 to keep this really simple. Yeah.
So you might hear that referred to as a sinking fund.
Yes.
So Capital Works, sinking fund, same.
Yeah. And I it's just a terminology thing. I mean, the strata purists I would think sinking fund is the Capital Works and not the admin fund.
So Capital Works or sinking fund.
Yes, sorry. Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. So then what they do is that's the day-to-day, and then what they'll do is, look, over the next 5 years, if it's a new building, or over the next 10, what do we need to allow for? Well, we know that the roof will probably need to be repaired in 10 years. Okay, so we have to factor that in. We know that the driveway needs to be resprayed over the next 5 years. We know that there's a bit of concrete cancer in the basement, and that will need to be repaired. So basically what they work out is 2 numbers for each unit allotment: the admin function, so the day-to-day, and then the proportionate of a unit allotment for each unit to save up for future capital works. So there could be also, and we'll get to kind of like doing some due diligence, if, for example, something came up, and then strata levies are usually paid to the strata manager quarterly, and that's all good. But if, for example, something came up, there was some emergency maintenance that we just did not foresee. It's not an insurance event. It's just, we forgot that the roof was rusty and it needs to be done next week or whatever. If that cost isn't accounted for in the general capital works sinking fund and saved up for, or if there's no money there for it, the strata committee can actually impose a special levy. Now, that special levy is for that special purpose of replacing this roof. We've got to raise $60,000 over the next 12 months. $60,000 divided by 12 is X amount a month that we need to save, then divided by the unit allotment.
Yeah, and I think this is where a lot of people get alarmed or scared off by Strata is looking at the sinking fund and seeing a low balance, or in some cases a high balance. So we this is where we need to spend a lot of time in our due diligence for the Ellas of the world, asking key questions of the history of the building and any potential issues that may have arisen.
So within that, there is on each strata scheme there will be what they call a strata committee, which is representatives of owners. Now, you might have an investment property and you don't live there, but you're an owner. You could be on the strata committee. So basically how it works is at the AGM, there'll be a nomination for the strata committee, and it would have the chair. I'm actually chair of the strata committee here at this location where the warehouse and studio is.
Yeah.
I've thought, well, I'm probably here. Like, it's so funny. Most of the other units, no one's here during the day. There's guys at the front because they're architects or engineers.
You're a suitable leader.
Well, I'm like, well, I'm going to be here most of the time more than anyone.
Yeah.
So I may as well be chair. So there's the chair and then committee members. You don't have to be a committee member, but basically what happens is the committee will meet and make decisions of how to appropriate the funds. As an example, we needed something done because it's a new complex here. And this doesn't matter whether it's commercial or residential. The strata thing is exactly the same.
Yeah.
We had to get the number on the front of the unit because it was a new complex and there wasn't a number. And every time anyone wanted to come up, there was confusion. Oh, which one's that? All right. So me as the chair, I said, I'll organise a couple of quotes to get the number put on, get the quotes circulated to the committee members. The committee members approve or decline. If you're not a committee member,
bad luck.
Bad luck. And that will get taken out of the admin fund because it's just, day-on-day maintenance and whatnot. Now, as a person who is an owner or a unit holder, you can go to the monthly meetings, but you really can't. You don't have you can ask questions like I went to one up the road for that property I got up there, and the strata committee was sitting around a table. I think there was 6 of them and the person from the strata company. They had the meeting and because everyone's a person and normal, they're just like, hey, if you've got any questions for the committee, just put your hand up. So me as a non-committee member but an owner could ask questions and give feedback. So that's kind of how it works. There is a committee. The problems and the risks there are generally you get people on committees like me who are losers with no friggin' idea and cause a lot of annoyance to everyone because they've got nothing better to do. But that's just the nature of strata. If you don't want to be involved and still own, just make sure each month you're reading the minutes, maybe go to the AGM and just keep an eye on what's going on. If there's issues with any of the tenants, noise complaints or whatever, or issues like, they keep leaving trash there, it's unit 5 or whatever, you tell the strata committee, they will potentially issue bylaws. So each strata committee has what they call bylaws, which are the rules for the complex. And there might be some bespoke rules and bylaws for your complex.
And when you got people involved, as you mentioned, there's variations of strata committees and how they're run and how they've been managed, and it can get pretty loose out there. So that's where the due diligence needs to be done long before we're buying this thing, not after.
Yeah. So that's kind of the 101 on how it works. That's not a comment of I'm never buying in strata or a unit because the strata fees are too expensive. Well, to be honest, they're not really. Like one of the places I have, because everything's kind of calculated, it might only be $100 a week for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath unit because everything's in check. It only explodes if there's special levies and stuff that's happened and the committee has been asleep at the wheel and not factored in stuff.
And they may be playing catch up, saying, right, we're going to have to contribute more now because we know we've got foreseeables in the future. But also I think a lot of larger complexes come with the bells and whistles, which is great. Gyms, pools, lifts, everything else, right?
Yeah.
So they all cost money to maintain and eventually replace.
Yeah, a friend of mine lives, and you know this person, they've got a unit right on Sydney Harbour there near the Toaster. You go to their house and there's an attendant.
Yeah.
Literally 24/7. So it's like this
They've got to
security
pay for it.
that building as part of the strata fees would be paying for that.
Yeah. And when you're a minority in that group, i.e. if there's 80 in the complex and you're one of 80, you don't get to say, right, I think we sack this person and not have someone there. And that's, I suppose, the main difference that you've got to be up for, especially when you're living in it.
Yeah. And then at the strata committee level, there'll be certain things that need a majority vote of over 75%, or depending on what the strata documents say. If you want to add a special levy, because even here at the studio, we had to put a gate on because when it was purchased, like there was no gate because we got this new.
Yeah.
We had to have a meeting to approve a special levy. 75% of the committee had to basically approve it.
Yeah.
Where there can be other matters where a basic majority has to approve it. So over 50% of different issues.
Which is fair.
So we'll take a break. When we get back, we're going to go a bit deeper for Ella and anyone out there around some of the due diligence and things that you need to look out for and things that I personally look at because I'm helping a friend do some DD at the moment for a unit and we've discussed it on the show before. We'll be right back after this.
If you're after personal financial advice, don't get it from a podcast. But if you want guidance tailored to your situation, head to moneypodcast.com.au and click Get Help. We'll connect you with one of our trusted professionals, financial advisors and mortgage brokers, who work with people right across Australia. No matter where you are, they can help. Now, before we get back to the show, a quick reminder to protect your financial life. That means having income protection sorted. It means having death cover if there's any debt or dependents relying on you. It means getting your personal insurance in order. Most people insure their car, they insure their house, but what about themselves? Sky Wealth, who support this podcast, are specialist financial advisors who can help you get the right cover in place. Their advice is often more comprehensive and better value than going direct through your super. Book a complimentary 15-minute chat at sky.com.au. That's skye.com.au. And they'll point you in the right direction.
So one of the biggest things that you need to do, and this is the problem, John, if you are wanting to buy your first home or an investment property, you could put an offer in on something. You might get rejected for the offer, but you may have to spend some money on doing some due diligence before, and it could just be a big waste of money. So one of the things is, when you find a conveyancer or solicitor in your area, or I'd imagine it should be state-based, make sure or just ask the question, hey, what's the cost for your conveyancing fees? And they could be like, it's $1,500. We'll look through up to 4 properties. Because they know that you put an offer in on something, you want the lawyer or conveyancer to read through it to give you any red flags. Then your offer then gets declined, or it's there's a big red flag here, so don't go ahead with this. We don't want to spend $1,500 a pop, but there are conveyancers that will allow, a handful of purchases.
Yeah, you might be able to look over a few contracts as long as you then end up proceeding with one. Otherwise, you will get charged regardless. But yeah, I think the key is, like any due diligence of dealing with the right professionals, they need to have experience in this space, because it's very different to reading over a Torrens title contract, for example, and extend that to insurances. A lot of, or not a lot, but some insurance companies don't cover or specialise in strata, so you need to cover off on that.
So one of the, if not the most major thing that you need to do if you're buying a property in a strata plan, you need to look at the minutes of the AGM. So how that would go is you would ask the real estate agent, hey, can you please provide the last 5 years or as much as possible, Strata report. So they would go to the Strata report company and they would basically have a big fat PDF. These are all the minutes of every meeting, every AGM over the last insert time here. And those minutes, and this is where I want you to pay attention, those minutes will, number one, it could cost a couple $100. Could be a fee involved.
Yeah.
Then what you need to do, you need to go through those minutes with a fine-tooth comb, or even just put it through ChatGPT. I put a 400-page Strata document in chat the other day and said, can you have a look at this? What are the red flags? And it was amazing. So AI, while it's crap to say, oh, calculate this financial projection and all this, and it hasn't picked up that the tax rates are wrong or those things have changed, with extracting information out of documents, it's fantastic. So get the Strata report, upload it to ChatGPT, and ask for a TLDR Strata report, and ask and tell them and it will say what the unit number is, but just be clear with it and we say, unit, I want to buy, lot 36 or which could end, it could be unit 5. Lot 36 could be unit 5. So just be clear on that and say, I want to buy this. And then ask it, what are the projected, for the first 5 years of being there based on this annual report, what am I up for in terms of fees? And it will just tell you.
Yeah.
Ask it, are there any red flags? Are there any special levies? And so you do that in concert with reading through the minutes yourself to see. But one of the big things that you're looking at, I'm doing all the talking as the property guy, aren't I?
You're doing well.
One of the big things to look at, John, is there meat in the sinking funds?
Yeah, and just being on the ground, especially if you're living in it, you've got to ideally get a chance to chat to some of the owners within the complex. Like it's like talking to a local hairdresser about a town, isn't it? So you can pick up so much general information that the minutes may not even account for.
Yeah.
So it's just all part of that due diligence is looking at the minutes, looking at the sinking fund, looking over the contract fine-tooth comb, but then doing the numbers and say, well, okay, age of the building and pest report, what does it all look like for me to make an informed decision? What can I forecast for?
What you would do as well, looking through that, you'd want to know, are there any units in arrears? Is there any litigation? Are insurances up to date? These are all just questions that you can ask ChatGPT. One other thing you need to do as well, so we are recording, July that we're recording this. If you requested a report and it said, July, and they give you the report, it was $300 or whatever it is, and you see that, the next AGM is August the 1st, or today, but it's not in there, we're pressing pause and waiting until that AGM and then getting a copy of the minutes. I've seen that in 2 of the units that I was helping do some DD on with my friend. We had to go back and request the AGM minutes because it wasn't in the bundle or it was happening in the next week or whatnot.
Yeah.
So you just have to check that. But one of the biggest things that stood out was the amount of units that were maybe 15, 20 years old, which maybe you would say would be newish compared to a 70s or 80s build, that the that the sinking fund was in deficit, literally negative, because no one was contributing.
Yeah.
A whole heap of investors had bought all these units, never paid their levies.
Yeah.
There was litigation to people that had outstanding money because if you don't pay, you'll get a late fee. If you don't pay, there'll be interest accruing, all this stuff. There was one committee that there was litigation against the committee for not doing DD or not running the scheme, like some pretty wild stuff.
Yeah. So your conveyancer would pick up all of that generally.
You'd hope so, but because you can request the report yourself and run it through chat.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. If it was a good deal, and we'll just say it was $600,000, for example, and it was, I just wanted a 1 bed, a 1 bath, and it was fine. knowing that there is a special levy that is $5,000 or $10,000 a year for the whole complex over the next 5 years, so $50,000, you can just ask ChatGPT, what is my best, most likely, and worst case exposure financially to this levy? And if you know that, well, sure, if there is a $60,000 special levy, I might only be on the hook for $3,000 or something like that. That's not scary because you understand and you can just factor that in because it's a good location, it's newish, it's fine. The rest of the building isn't in deficit. But the red flags are, and the area that we were looking at was around Epping. I shared one a few months ago on the podcast where, $300,000 paint job or something like that, and there was no money. And another one, there was not one owner occupier in the building, which isn't bad because people have to rent. But the bad thing was all these investors bought all the units. 15 years later, they were selling for less than what the investors paid for them. And the investors are just trying to offload these, but they still owe money to the Strata committee, like total mess.
Yeah, and I think there's a whole string of events there that lead you to making these good decisions, and that the owner-occupier versus investor ratio is really important from a wealth creation point of view as well, because as you mentioned, the investor doesn't put time into money into the complex like the owner-occupier does. So they'll keep the cosmetic improvements up, whereas the investor will be bare minimum sort of thing. But I think the one, well, there's plenty of red flags to look out for. But if you're looking at it from how can I live in this comfortably? Another one that you need to look at is who was the builder and who's the developer. If it was in the last
5.
Well, probably 10 to 15, to be honest. If they're not still around, we can go and that's maybe a concern for a start. But also go and check out what other products they've built that's older than the ones I'm about to buy, and just see, do they look dated? Have they had any problems? Again, try and talk to people, etc. And you get a pretty good feel for what you're dealing with. And there's when it comes to developers and builders, there's the good end and the bad end. And you don't want to be struck on the bad end because the problems just keep mounting up.
Yeah, so for my friend who's like literally looked, I think we've put 4 Strata reports through and all of them were rubbish in terms of these Strata schemes in the Ryde area.
Yeah. And you also look at the vacancies in those areas and concrete jungle, like concerns.
So my friend, she has resolved that it probably will be an older unit, even dare I say red brick type, 80s build or whatever that was, maybe older, smaller, and there has been some promising signs in terms of the financials of the Strata committee with an older unit, and she will recarpet it and redo the kitchen and get on with her life.
Because it's simple.
Yeah,
it's basic. There's lots.
3-story, no lifts.
Yeah. Small numbers in the complex, all those sort of things. But older and uglier. I think older and uglier with units, more often than not, better than new and glossy.
Yeah, because you don't get, warranty per se.
No.
With your new unit, like there could be some defect periods and all that. I'm probably not in this climate buying off the plan to live.
It's a lot more questionable than it was maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think the uncertainty of it, there's no better time, and these are actually coming out of my mouth, Glenn, there's no better time to buy units than in the last 10 years than now.
Right. Why?
Because of that supply demand.
Right.
And the fact that affordability for buying houses in chosen areas is an issue, right? The Ellas of the world are saying, I want to live in Brizzy, I want to live in a good suburb, but for me to buy a house, it's going to cost me 1.4.
Yeah.
I've got 700, I can buy a 2-bedroom unit. I'm in every day of the week in that particular suburb.
Is it, so if there was a Strata plan and there was a 5-story unit complex in West End or something like that, is there a report you can do for the building to see if there is owner occupiers or investors only?
Yeah. So when you when you look on CoreLogic, you basically see how many's in the complex,
Right.
and you can see the ownership. So
Right.
it's either saying owner occupied or tenanted or government housing or whatever it might be. So you can check that. And you can just manually do the numbers. Say, righto, looks like there's 70% here based on the numbers that I've done, right? But we're looking at, like I was having a conversation with someone in Sydney who's looking in Maroubra, right? There's the difference between the house median price and the unit median price. How much do you reckon?
Oh, it'd be a million, wouldn't it?
1.9 million.
Jeez.
So I can never afford to buy a house in Maroubra, but I've got half a chance of buying a unit. Same thing in Miranda near Cronulla. $1 million difference between a unit and a house. So that gap is going to narrow.
But you're not saying it's a good time to buy a unit as an investor, but more if you want to buy it to live in.
Well, there's an argument for as an investor as well, because that gap is going to narrow. It has to. But when you see a house and median house price and median unit price only $200K difference, then yeah, you try and buy that house. But yeah.
I mean, there's a lot here, but all I'm saying to the Ellas out there, you've got to kiss a lot of frogs, and you will look at a lot of different units. Try not to get unit fever. If it doesn't feel right, if you've got to force it, don't try and justify, oh, well, there's a special levy, I think I can pay it. Like, if it doesn't, like, there's units everywhere, but be very, very strategic with, I want to, as a minimum, 2 bed, 1 bath, or 1 bed, 1 bath, whatever that is. For me personally, studio apartments, not ever buying one to live in or as an investor. Just not doing it.
Well, lending becomes an issue.
Why is that?
Essentially, banks don't like too much under 50 square internal size. So if we've got that, we're buying something that's 45 square because we want to be in the blue chip suburb, you can get lending, but you might pay a premium for it, or you might have to put in 30% deposit or more.
Yeah.
So just be wary of that.
And then I guess the only other kind of bank risk is if there was some suburbs like Mascot in Sydney where some banks and lenders won't lend to a tower because they've already got too much exposure, too many of existing customers.
Yeah, and go further again on that and say, well, they might not lend to a postcode.
Yes.
Because they're already exposed overall in that particular
But your mortgage
postcode.
broker will guide you through that. Reach out to Sphere Home Loans if you need to. Look, there's a lot of doom and gloom, but it's not bad to own in a strata complex. I do. You do. Well,
You've just
by definition, you do with
by definition
our other
I do. Yeah, I'm
place.
just thinking about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're right. Like there's probably just that next layer of due diligence that needs to be done that probably doesn't need to be done as strictly with the house, right? There's still obviously red flags with houses as well. But yeah, absolutely not the end of the world to go and buy strata. Absolutely not. And I think there's massive upside in the next 5 years. But just know that you're asking the right questions and ticking the boxes that we've spoken about today.
And, you know, if you go to an open in a unit in Brisbane and there's 15 parties there looking and there's a 20 grand special levy that's levied and your exposure could be, or we'll go more extreme. There's a hole in the sinking fund or there's a special levy and it's black and white all day long that you've got exposure here to maybe 20% or more.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, $20,000 or more you're going to be on the hook for. Sure, if there's 15 people there, you might have to suck it up. But there's one person and their cat that's walking through and it's a bit quiet. Off the bat, that 20K, if they want to sell this bastard, or they know that there's an issue here, I want to pay less, knowing that I might have exposure up to $20,000.
Yeah.
And then I'll do a deal.
Yeah. No, absolutely. The probably the final piece on that for me would be glossy's not always better. So when you're looking at new, you walk in, you can smell the carpet, you can, in a nice way, you can see everything's done, move in straight away. Beautiful, nothing to be done. No ugly red carpet from the 80s. you are paying more of a premium for that because the condition that it's in doesn't always mean that it's going to be a better outcome from you from a financial wealth point of view. So just have two sides of the coin when you're going in.
In finishing, we're going to do two things. I'm going to read one thing that you can research if you are buying into units, around the 90s or, up to, I think, 2005. And this is the unit that I'm renting and living in at the moment. They started to have, and this is just an example of due diligence, right? Someone had a water leak in the unit and they got the plumber in and, pipe cracked. So they cut the ceiling out, fixed it. A couple of weeks later, another unit had a water leak. Fast forward to today, there's a product called polybutylene plastic pipes. Mm-hmm. And you can just Google polybutylene and there's articles everywhere and all this stuff. But basically, this type of material that was used, the chlorine in the town water was eating the plastic, and after 10, 15 years, it would leak. Mm. So the unit complex that I'm in, what is it, like 7, 8, 9 stories, the roof, so good size, probably 100 units maybe, I don't know how many. Anyway, it doesn't actually matter. They've got to go round and they're replacing every unit's internal water pipes.
Yes.
Now, that's a $2 million job, basically.
Oh, my God.
Now, if you are an owner there, and I didn't even know the eggs. This is just third-hand gossip because I'm a tenant there, right? And they want to know when they can come in and do my water pipes. And on one hand, I'm like, you're not coming in while I'm on lease. I don't want the disruption. I'll just, move out at some point and then you can fix it when you move out. But then I was thinking, oh, no, I'm going to Spain in September. I've told them they're going to come and replace all the internal pipes in the unit while I'm away in September because I'd rather it change so I'm not sprung a leak at 2 a.m. and have to move and cause all the drama. So they've got to pretty much cut all, like gyprock out, repaint ceilings. If they can't match tiles in bathrooms, re-tile every single unit. Now, I was talking to someone on site. There's an employed building manager that Strata employs, and he does the bins and blows and vacs and fixes stuff. And I'll just make a note for other people there. Fixes stuff. He basically said to me, he said, we've worked it out, so we've got a plumber to do it. I'm going to do a bit of the labouring and helping, and there's enough money in the sinking fund to basically cover it with me helping.
Right.
And it's going to be a 2-3 year project. And the first thing I thought was, well, that's good if you're an owner, right? Because you don't have to pay special levy. But because there is meat in the sinking fund, that money is allocated for something else. So the can is just kicked down the road.
Yeah.
So they can go through, replace every person's unit with new water pipes and all that stuff. But in 5 years' time, when it needs to be repainted, there might not be $400,000 or whatever the cost is sitting there. So these are just the little things that can come up. But just on that fixing things.
Which doesn't, before you go there, doesn't actually add any value to your unit.
No.
It's just a necessary cost that has to be paid, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I'm even thinking that one that I own, I'm like, I reckon at year 10 I'll be selling it because at least, not that there's polybutylene, I think they were, it was all illegal in I think 2005.
Yeah, and that brings us back to the quality of developer and builder that you've got as well, and the materials they're using and the length of effort they've gone to create a great outcome, which you've got. A lot of others haven't.
So just when you buy a unit or an apartment, the strata is responsible for the facade. So part of the facade is the windows. So, for example, I've got on my. Have you been to my apartment?
No.
Oh, come up next time.
Haven't got an invite.
Oh, you're invited.
Thanks.
So you go out onto the balcony. There's 2 roller doors and nice view, and I look out over up Newcastle, Hunter River out to the ocean. It's quite a nice view. Anyway, the sliding doors with like the salt air and whatnot, and they're quite big and heavy. Like the wheels, anyway, they get jammed. If you got issues, you call manager, Strata come in and replace it. So it's an external facing thing. Now, if you have, and this is talk about property managers, there was some other chat in the group about if you're getting a property manager. I almost hit the roof with a former property manager that I had. I got an email, hey Glenn, tenant said that in another unit that I own, the tenant said that the side door onto the balcony, because it was a Juliet balcony with a door and another balcony, that was the issue. So we've had someone go up and fix it, charged me $170. I don't even know what it was. It wasn't huge, but almost hit the roof. I was like, no, that's Strata. You report that to Strata.
And a good property manager knows that.
Yeah, and anyway, I just could not believe it.
Yeah.
So lots going on there. And we haven't really talked about any of the soft stuff, but I just hope if you are listening to this, you've got a really good understanding of how the Strata world works. In the Facebook group on Ella's post, Jessica actually made some good points. I've had a quick scrub. I haven't read them all, and I'll read them out now. And we may have talked about some of this stuff, so it could include some of the soft things. I own a couple of units in Brisbane City and South Brisbane. She said, 1, I'd look out for how regularly your body corporate meets, who the Strata management is, get minutes of all previous AGMs, etc. Awesome. 2, look at the flood maps if in a flood affected area. Awesome. And you might be thinking, well, if I'm level 7, it's not going to flood. Yeah, but the basement might. 3, think about the trade-off for expensive building amenities like pools, saunas, gyms. If it's for investment purposes, your Strata/body corporate levies are tax deductible, so it's less of an issue. But these amenities in turn Strata levies will be expensive if you're owner-occupying. And that's it. Do you have a blanket rule? If possible, no pool.
Yeah, well, as I mentioned, you've just got costs that you don't need to bear.
She said, point 4, and thanks for producing this podcast, Jessica. If you're aiming for capital growth, low-density apartments are your best bet as you own a lot more of the land. Also, more sway when voting in smaller buildings for any motions for improvements and repairs. 5, look at adjacent development or potential development, as what today is /car park /vacant lot can very quickly become a construction site. This obviously isn't an issue if the area is already developed around you. Noise and dust from adjacent construction sites will make your cute balcony useless. Or if you live on Newcastle Harbour and you get wind, your balcony ends up black from the coal from Kooragang Island. Number 6, try to inspect at different times of the day to get an idea of the demographic in the building, noise level from adjacent venues like hotels and pubs. 7, you should be able to get an idea of the historic capital growth /rental yield from domain, etc. I would look at this even if PPOR, because you never know what might happen in the future, and this will impact resale value for you. 8, buy close to, but not next to, good public transport infrastructure like existing train or new cross-river train stations, etc. 9, an older apartment will generally give you a more generous floor plan. 10, check your building bylaws. These can really impact what improvements you can do to your lot, i.e. renos will be subject to body corporate approval to varying extents depending on the building. So all very good points there. For example, you may need a Strata committee approval to install ceiling fans, air conditioners. Now, in the case of like two properties that I have in small strata schemes, we don't pay a third-party strata management company. So that's all well and good while it's good until it isn't. Now, if our driveway needs to be redone or resprayed, it could be $15,000 job. I know because we've got a quote. It's on the back of the two other owners and me to cough up a check for the price.
Yeah.
When we get insurance comes through each year, I get it. I email everyone, hey, peeps, here's the bill, and we split it. So if someone wanted to buy it, they're like, where are the Strata AGM? I'm like, yeah, he's the AGM, but it's literally we met, we conquered, see you later.
Yeah.
But there ain't no sinking fund.
No. And that's, I suppose, the dance, isn't it, between the cost outlay to have someone manage it?
Yeah, I'm just not prepared to pay an extra $1,200 a year as a minimum between two or three people.
No.
I mean, maybe there's an argument that we probably should just to start to save for maintenance and repairs. But
Well, I think anyone that owns property needs to put aside repairs and maintenance.
well, that's it. Like whether you
regardless.
own a strata building or a freehold property, there's risk that the roof's going to need to be repaired, resprayed, replaced.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we've covered a fair bit of ground. Anything that you'd want to finish on, John?
Okay, so Ella, fantastic question and talking point, isn't it? And I think it's more and more prominent, and as I said before, because of that affordability of this is all I can buy, especially to live in. Whether you're an investor or an owner-occupier, I believe, this is just me personally, we need to have our investor hat on anyway, because we buy something for X, we want to create some wealth through that, regardless of whether we're living in it or not. And the difference between good and bad can be worlds apart. So we need to put our I suppose, investor hat on with our emotional mindset of where we want to live and get that good combination. But yeah, high strata numbers, like high complex, high running costs, busy roads, high vacancy rates, high investor region versus owner-occupier, like all those things lessen your chances of growth when it comes to buying that asset.
But if you want to own it, live in it forevermore,
Do whatever.
for security,
Just buy it.
growth, whatever, you just need to know that apartments in Ryde that sold 10 years ago are selling for 50 grand, 30 grand less today.
Yeah.
That's in Sydney property market.
Yeah. And I bought two assets in the same city 10 years ago. One of them is Strata and the other one isn't. Right? There's about a $500K difference in the result 10 years later.
And the yield is about the same.
Yield is better in the unit, as we said at the start. You're going to get a better yield because the internal is smaller and the land component is less. Yeah. But as I said before, I think the upside in buying the right unit is going to be fruitful in the next few years.
Yeah, my common thing that I'm seeing from just some anecdotal experience, if you can't get an awesome deal off the plan and you don't have confidence and all that stuff, or if there isn't the stock, older, little more further out than what you might like, less units, throw 30 to 50 grand renovating it and making it your home, then getting the bank back out there to revalue it and potentially go and buy an investment property after that. So
I'm visualising the unit that would be all of that. You drive in the driveway, you see the red brick. You've
There's
got
this
a roller
common
door
stairwell.
that you just roll up yourself. There's no remote. You've got ugly carpet. You've got an old dated kitchen. You've got an old...
There's a common stairwell up to the second level.
Yeah, and you've got a shower maybe with a bath that you step into and all of that for the most part is like, why would I buy this? But that's where the growth, the upside is.
And there's probably a higher chance of the body corporate financials. And if it's 30 years old, just ask for the last 8 years, whatever, it's probably a higher chance that it's in better nick, the financials. But you just got to do your DD and Yeah.
And all those solid things that have been built in the 70s and 80s, they seriously, all they need is cosmetic improvements internally, and maybe the gutters replacing every so often, and maybe a lighter roof that's not the heaviest brick in the world from the 70s.
And don't be disheartened, but you may have to pay $1,200 to pay $300 for 4 scheme reports. So that's why you really want to get settled with the exact area, so you're just not wasting money. And of course, for your first home, we did a video, the First Home Super Save Scheme. We'll put a link below, and that's the best kept secret if you want to save up to $7,000 in tax as the scheme. Just a lot of people don't use it. So we'll leave it there. John Pidgeon, the author of Sort Your Property Out and Get Invested, available where all books and audio books are sold. I'm Glen James. I've got the book, The Quick Start Guide to Investing. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Any advice is general financial advice only, which does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. Because of that, you should consider if the advice is appropriate to you and your needs before acting on the information. If you do choose to buy a financial product, read the Product Disclosure Statement, PDS, and Target Market Determination, TMD, and obtain appropriate financial advice tailored to your needs. Simo Interactive Pty Ltd, the publisher of this podcast, and Glen James are authorised representatives of Money Sherpa Pty Ltd, which holds financial services license 451289. Opinions or comments from any guests on the podcast are theirs and not those of the host or the publisher or their respective license holders.